Welcome to Nice and Blunt. My name is Adam Riancho, and it's officially time for your Thursday night start-sit video for Week 1, Chiefs versus Ravens. Let's go. I think this game is extremely straightforward for start-sit decisions. Based on where you drafted everyone, you probably already know who you're starting, and these offenses are kind of narrow to begin with. So let's add in some history between these two teams and give you the average stats for each player while I explain why you should start them. Let's start with the quarterbacks, where I think you're starting both Lamar and Mahomes. You drafted them both as top 5 options, and I have Lamar at number 4, Mahomes at number 5 this week. The reason I have Lamar one spot higher is because he averages 71 rushing yards per game against the Chiefs, and I think after last season's loss in the AFC Championship, there's a little extra motivation to get this win. It kind of feels like a must win, honestly, for the Ravens. So I think he goes red hot in this one. He averages 21.7 points per game in 5 matchups against the Chiefs, and that includes the playoff game as well. So I think he goes off. I definitely trust Lamar in prime time, and I always trust Mahomes as well. He's actually even better in this matchup, averaging 25.6 points per game. He's only thrown 2 interceptions in 5 games, an average of 344 passing yards per game as well. So his stats were down last season. He probably picks it up this season, and I expect top 5 games from both of them. I'm obviously starting Travis Kelce. He's a lock in your lineup every single week. You drafted him as either the number 1 or number 2 tight end this season. And against Baltimore, his stats are elite. An average of 15.9 points per game in his last 6 games. He gives you a minimum of like 86 receiving yards every single matchup. An average of 7.3 catches for 92 yards per game with 3 touchdowns. That's very safe. You know you're getting a good game from Kelce every single week. I think you also have to start Mark Andrews, but I got to be honest with you. I feel like my tight end 6 ranking on him might be a little too high because his numbers against Kansas City are actually really bad. In his last 4 games, only an average of 4.4 points per game. That is kind of dog shit. And he's never scored a touchdown on them. 3.3 catches per game for 27 yards per game is brutal. So especially with a car accident that happened for him August 14th still kind of looming in the background, I'm actually a little bit worried about Andrews, but I think you have to start him just for the nature of your roster. I'd be really surprised if you drafted Andrews and another elite tight end in your season-long redraft league. So let's hope for the best. I think he could bounce back, but I'm really hopeful they don't use him as like a decoy because he is still sore from that car accident. I don't think so. He's off the injury report, and he should be fine, but he might not find the end zone. That's a little risky this week. That's why I don't have him as a top 5 tight end, but I don't think you can bench him. Fire him up. Let's hope for the best. I'm also starting both of the running backs in this one. I have Isiah Pacheco ranked at number 7. I think he's a lock in your lineup with no legit backup behind him. He's seeing a massive workload in this offense, and the touchdown kind of feels guaranteed this week for Pacheco. In the playoff game, he gave you 16.2 points on only 68 rushing yards on 24 carries. He was actually very inefficient, but he caught all 4 of his targets as well for another 14 yards and scored a touchdown. 16 points is very safe. I think Pacheco's a guaranteed top 10 play this week. I also think you cannot bench Derrick Henry based on where you drafted him. He's going to be in your lineup every single week, and I actually feel like I might be too low on him with my RB ranking, but it's week 1. Historically, he has been eased in a little bit in the first game of the season, but that was with Mike Vrabel and the Tennessee Titans. This is with the Ravens, and it could change. He has a mini bye after this to recover, so why not let him loose? They need this win for tiebreaker purposes later on in the year for playoff seeding. So I am still trusting Henry. He's my RB 11, and against the Chiefs, he's actually owned them from a fantasy standpoint. He has a winning record, a 4-2 record in his career against the Chiefs, but if you look at his last 5 games, he gives you an average of 21.2 fantasy points, 132 total yards per game, only 1.6 catches per game, but 6 total touchdowns in those 5 games. 21 points would be nice in week 1. So yeah, I might be too low with my rank, but I definitely still have him as a starting caliber player, no one is benching Derrick Henry this week. And I think he might be the secret sauce to help the Ravens get over the top in this matchup. It's going to be a nightmare to stop Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the same backfield. There's never been some tape on it. The Chiefs defense might not know how to do it. So we'll see some very entertaining highlights from this game. I think it will be a very, very fun game to watch. But I'm also starting both of the number one receivers in this game. My favorite would be Zay Flowers, who went off on the Chiefs in the playoff game. He caught 5 of 8 targets for 115 yards and a touchdown. He almost scored a second touchdown, but he fumbled into the end zone as he was reaching for the goal line on that second touchdown. But L'Jarius Sneed was a big factor in that. L'Jarius Sneed is no longer with the Chiefs, so I think he could go ham again, and that's why I think he's a lock in your lineup this week, a top 20 receiver with a lot of revenge in mind in this rematch of the AFC Championship. So I don't think he fumbles this time. I think Flowers goes for over 100 yards and a touchdown again on the Chiefs. So fire him up. I also think you're starting Rashee Rice. He's my wide receiver 27 though, so more of just a flex play in this offense. And I want to see what this new offense looks like with Xavier Worthy in the mix. Last year it was like just Rashee Rice, nobody else other than Kelce that you could trust. And although Hollywood Brown is not active for this game, there is a world where Rashee gets held in check. That's what happened last year in the playoff game against Baltimore. He had 9 targets, he caught 8 of them, but only for 46 yards and no touchdowns. So he was very inefficient, less than 6 yards per catch, and that's pretty bad, only 8.6 points in that playoff game. But this is the regular season. It might not be as intense, but I still think the Ravens secondary clamps down and could shut him down. So a little bit worried about it. Not a top 20 play this week, but at 27, still a high-end flex play. I think he is in your lineup, kind of regardless of who else you have. You drafted him high enough to warrant a start in week 1. So you're starting all of the straightforward options like I mentioned earlier, and you're also starting both of the kickers. Justin Tucker and Harrison Butker are both top 5, and I also have both of the defenses inside my top 12. You probably drafted both of them, but I'm a little worried this game could turn into a shootout. That's why I only have the Ravens at number 10, the Chiefs at number 11. I trust the Ravens secondary a little bit more than the Chiefs without Sneed. So that's why I have the Ravens above them. I also think they win the game. We'll get into that final score prediction in just a minute, but I still think you're probably going to start them based on where you drafted them. So you're starting almost everyone in this game who you drafted on your roster. But on the bench, I think I'm going to hold off on starting Xavier Worthy in week 1. It's a rookie making his debut. And yes, he has 4.2 speed, but I'm a little bit worried to like fully trust it until I see it. He could take a 50-yard bubble screen to the house though, and you could say, I told you so, with Xavier Worthy. So the upside's going to be there. He's a big boom bust option, but until I know for sure what I'm getting, I will hold off and keep him on the bench. But you know, my dark horse player for this game is Isaiah Likely. Last year in week 1, I gave you Josh Reynolds as a potential dark horse. He had 4 catches for 80 yards in that week 1 matchup, and Likely is very, very interesting. He's my tight end number 22, so I am keeping him on the bench. I'm not saying you should start him, but especially with the stats I read off for Andrews looking really bad in this matchup and his car accident looming in the back of my mind, I do think Likely could have a role in this game. He was so good last season, especially down the field, filling in for Andrews. I think he has earned a role, and I think he's a better receiver in this offense this year than Rashad Bateman, someone that was hyped up in training camp. So I actually am very tempted to roster Likely on my bench and see what happens, but I wouldn't invest in him if it wasn't like daily, and I do have a bet involving him that I'll get to later in the video. It's definitely too risky to feel good about, but I genuinely think that if there's one guy we're not expecting to go off in this game, Likely could score a touchdown and could finish the week as a top 12 tight end in fantasy. So keep an eye out for him. If he does score, you heard it here first. Isaiah Likely has some potential upside in this matchup, but I'm benching him. I'm not going to tell you to start him. And I'm also benching all the other backups in this game. No thank you with Samaje Perine, Justice Hill, way too risky. No thank you with Rashad Bateman or Nelson Aguilar. Lamar does not throw it well enough to convince me you have to start them. And then Juju Smith-Schuster knows the offense, but no chance of starting him. Same goes with Mecole Hardman. They will be completely irrelevant once Hollywood Brown gets back in the mix. So that's it for this start-sit video. All of the starts are here on the screen, and you probably already knew you were starting them before the week kicked off. And Mahomes, Lamar, they're in my lineup. Same with Kelce, Mark Andrews, Isiah Pacheco, Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Rashee Rice, both kickers, Tucker and Butker, as well as both defenses. I all have them ranked as starters this week. At worst, as a flex, the lowest ranked would be Rashee Rice at 27. But on the bench, I'm not going to trust Xavier Worthy just yet, nor Isaiah Likely, and then no fucking chance with any of the other backups. But my final score prediction here would be that the Ravens win 27-24, and the over-under is 46.5. That means I'm hitting the over in this game. I know that the playoff game was very low scoring, 17-10 in favor of Kansas City, but I don't think it's going to be as tough on the scoreboard as that game. In the regular season, the last time these two quarterbacks faced each other, it was the Ravens winning 36-35. There is some shootout potential in this one. So I will take the over on the line. I'm also going to take the Ravens to win straight up. They are a 3-point underdog. And at the very least, I think it will be a close game within a field goal. I do like that bet. Give me the Ravens and the points. But other than that, I always give you a pick'em bet in this video, and I actually made two bets on this game. One of them I could not pass up. I had a risk-free bet the other day. You could put down up to $10, and if it doesn't hit, you get it back with a maximum of 4 bets to make. So I went all scorchers on this one. I am shooting for upside, and this $10 bet would bring back 705 if it hits. So wish me luck. I'm going to need some help with it. But 2 of these I think are locks to hit. I think Pacheco will score a touchdown. I also think Flowers scores a touchdown. So love those 2. And then Derrick Henry should catch 2 receptions. That feels kind of safe. He usually gets some work in the screen game. The one that's truly a gamble, though, is the touchdown on Isaiah Likely. As I mentioned, it's not a guarantee to hit, but I do kind of feel like there is a world where he does get involved as a dark horse candidate. So I said, fuck it. There's no risk involved. If it doesn't hit, I get the $10 back. And if it does, I would love to have 705 in my account. So wish me luck there, but that offer on the risk-free bet is no longer viable. So this is my safe bet for you all this week. It includes a free bet, a promo on Travis Kelce higher than half a total yard. Assuming he doesn't get injured on the first play of the game, that is a guarantee to hit. So that one is awesome. That one feels good. But like I mentioned, I feel really safe about Pacheco and Flowers scoring a touchdown. So I included those 2 scorchers in this bet as well. And then the average on Mahomes in this matchup is 344 passing yards per game. So I hit the over on 270.5. I think he will smash that. I think 300 passing yards is definitely in the cards for him this week. And Lamar Jackson averages 71 rushing yards on the Chiefs. So the line is at 49.5. I think he will go over 50 rushing yards in this game. So I feel actually really confident about this bet, especially including the Kelce half a total yard over. So I recommend you make a similar bet to this. I really like it. And if you want to get in on the fun on Underdog, use my code Nice and Blunt and get your first deposit matched 50% on SignUp. If you put down $10, you get an extra $5 to play with. It goes up as you put in more money. But with these bets, I always want to exercise caution. Do not gamble money you are not comfortable losing. So I only put down $3 on this bet, but it would turn into 103 if it hits. I think it's definitely worth a shot. And then the other one is completely risk-free. I normally don't put down 10, but if it hits, I get 705. So wish ya boy some good luck. I would love to come out of this game with another $800 in my pocket, and I will need a bit of help with that Isaiah Likely touchdown. But it's going to be fun. I can't wait for the season. And this was a pleasure. This is one of my favorite videos to make every single week. And I hope to see you in the next one. My name's Adam Rancho. Hit that like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel for more content. and I will see you tomorrow with another video. Thank you for watching. Nice and blunt.